Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, this is Friday, April the 3rd. And as promised, we're here with the seminar and with this very beautiful cup with the seminar on the interviews. So my name is Anastasia.
Noopur.
This is Noopur, and today we're going to entertain you guys during the evening. So this is a very new experience for us to be live on YouTube, and we do really appreciate your support. So please comment, ask questions, and just be present with us. And right now we're going to tell you what is going to wait for you during this amazing evening. Right now we are planning to have an introduction for about 15 minutes from 6 till 6:15, and then Noopur, she will entertain you mostly till the rest of the evening till 19:45, and she will tell you about how to prepare for job interviews, how to succeed during job interviews, and basically everything, the most important, what you have to know so that you do really succeed on the job market in Sweden. And finally, for the most persistent and the most patient, at 7:45 we are going to share with you the list of most common questions during interviews, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so let's move on. For the introduction part, we are going to tell you first about ourselves, because I assume and we assume that some of you who are watching us right now, you know us pretty well from our previous experience of support groups and career guidance and any help related to job integration to Swedish markets. So we are a project, a community project, which is geared to help immigrants in Sweden to integrate to local society. Right?
Yes.
Yes. And we have 5 people who are going to tell a bit more about us later down the road. So what we are helping with? We're helping with career coaching, with professional networking, with counseling and psychotherapy, and with personal branding and informational support. So basically we're trying to provide the most comprehensive assistance for those who just came to Sweden and are trying to find your spot here. Hopefully this evening is going to be helpful for you, and hopefully you are going to be active so that we know how to run and facilitate this session. So please comment. So today with you, as we mentioned before, we have Anastasia. This is me. It's always hard to find words how to introduce myself with respect to background, but in context of this project Perform on Top, I position myself as trained to empower, because indeed I'm trained to empower. I'm an expert in integration because I integrated in many countries and different fields and areas, and I'm one of the co-founders of Perform on Top. And this is Noopur. Noopur, she is modest yet because this is the very first experience for her to go live on YouTube, so she's quiet. Normally she's not that quiet, but she will start speaking soon. So Noopur, she is a recruiter, full-time recruiter, and she is a career coach. Also, she's one of the co-founders of Perform on Top. Right?
Yes.
It's great to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And soon it will be your turn.
Yes, I know.
For us, this is one of the first experiences to do something virtually. We tend to meet people mostly in real world, but we also have sometimes video meetings. But the thing is that normally they are interactive, so we say something, people ask questions, comments, we respond. And this is how our favorite and loving community looks like. You may see it right now. So normally we meet every other Friday, and hopefully you're our support system, you're just watching it now. We do really, gosh, I miss so much our physical meetings, in fact.
Seriously, yeah.
I'm currently looking at this picture, and I miss each and everyone on this picture, and hopefully this type of sessions are not going to last forever.
For sure.
For sure, yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
So we are a community of people who support each other in different aspects because we all are going through the same issue to integrate here to Swedish society. We all come with different backgrounds, and each person in our community is a person with high education. Yeah, with high education.
Yeah.
And some of them are still in process of job applications, of establishing their network, while some of them have already found jobs, and we are really proud of them. And hopefully sooner, later down the road, we will have more and more people who will be proud to get this award. We present Leading by Example award to our members who do really achieve their goals. Hopefully we'll have more people later.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll meet in person very soon also.
Yes.
So within this project, we have 5 members who founded it. All 5 members are also immigrants here in Sweden. First of all, we have Alex. Alex, just so that you know who we are and you probably may consider what type of help you can get from us. Alex, he helps people to make a switch to IT industry from any background. So no matter what you have learned or did before in your life, currently digitalization is a very powerful trend, and unfortunately you cannot avoid it, or thanks God. So boosting your career and your background with some IT tools is really a useful thing to do right now, especially during quarantine while you have some time.
Yes.
And Alex is the one who is doing this type of coaching. We also have Pritama. Pritama, she is a personal branding expert, so she helps you to build your personal brand during your job hunting. She assists you with the ideas how to stand out, how to show yourself in social media, how to put everything you have in your background beautifully so that HRs basically pay attention to your profile so that you stand out. We also have Christina. Christina, she is a golden source of information. So if you have any questions about whom to ask, what to ask, how to get information you need, Christina, she is an expert in, I would say, formal types of networking, and she has a huge database of different projects, programs, which potentially can be helpful for you in your integration journey. And of course, 2 of us, we already mentioned who we are, and we're not going to repeat it again. Yeah. But guys, make sure that you connect all of us. We are really open and we're looking forward to connecting with you as soon as possible, ideally during the end of this seminar, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. And this was pretty much the introduction. And right now we are moving to the session itself, to the seminar, and we're giving the words to Noopur, and Noopur is going to introduce a bit herself once again. Yep. And then she will basically run the show, right?
Yes. Okay, so I'll just start with saying that as Anastasia mentioned, I've not done this before, so forgive me if I don't look at the camera all the time, but I'll try my best. Yes, so I'm Noopur. Most of you probably have met me. Some of you have seen me on the poster. I am a recruiter in a consultancy company, and I have gained a lot of information and knowledge in the field of recruitment in Sweden. But most of the things that I'll cover today are universally applicable, most of them. So I would like to know, most of my presentations are really interactive. That is why this is so tough. But I would like to know where you guys from. Is it anyone who is not from Sweden? So please comment.
Yeah, guys. Here, I just have some experience before of running this type YouTube live shows, and I know how hard it is to sit here on your own and just to talk to the camera. So I volunteered to assist Noopur here, but I am mostly a moderator today. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to listen to what Noopur is going to share with you further, and I'm going to look at your chat, and I will collect all the questions, all your comments, and then I will bring them up during the session itself. So I'm currently switching to the PowerPoint mode, and you're going to see the screen while Noopur is going to continue her seminar.
Yes.
So please continue, and I'm switching.
Yes. So you might wonder why this type of seminar at this point, and we as a team thought it's the most relevant at the moment. As most of you might have realized, it's really tough, the job market at the moment, and I would really, and me and the team would really like everyone to be in the top when it comes to the market getting better. So yeah, you have a lot of free time possibly. I know most of you are at home self-quarantining, and some of you still have to work, but most of you might have a lot of free time on hand, and we want to help you use it in a very positive way. Another reason is, of course, when the tough job market becomes a little bit easier and it opens up, we would like you to have strong interview and presentation skills when you go for job search. And to also give you tools that require dealing with different types of interview, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Yes. And then we also really feel like there are 3 great things that help you do a good interview. First, I personally really like preparation. What about you?
Yeah, I also love preparation. I can't imagine going to an interview and improvising there.
No.
I think it's the worst thing you can do ever.
Yes.
Ever. You have to be prepared.
Yes. Preparation really shows not only helps you give good job interviews, but also shows that yes, you want this job. It shows your interest. It shows how much hard work you have put in. Second one, really important, is the right mindset. There are a lot of instances when you probably go to an interview not really pumping yourself up, and you really don't give yourself a pep talk. I really feel that's important. As Anastasia says, do something that helps you get energetic.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure that you are in a good mood and that you are in the best possible version of self, so that you enjoy yourself on the day of interview.
Exactly. And of course that in turn gives you confidence to deal with a lot of different questions that might come your way, because what is really scary is when you sort of sit in an interview and you have to answer something that you're not prepared for, you're not in a good mood, and you don't have confidence. That's gonna end there.
Yeah, it's going to destroy your first impression forever. You have just only one chance to provide first impression, and this is your chance. Use it.
Exactly. Okay, so what are interviews? Now you have applied, you have come to a point where you're ready to give interviews. All the interviews can come into 3 different categories. There could be more categories, but according to me, the categories are 3 really important. First is phone interviews. I'm sure a lot of you have been through them and hate them.
Why?
You don't?
No.
No?
If they're in Swedish. If they are in Swedish.
I mean, everyone has their, weaknesses. When I started giving interviews myself, I did not like phone interviews, just because I'm a very a person who talks with hands, for example. I like to use my hands. I am very expressive as a person.
Yeah.
So for me, phone interviews was a difficult thing to grasp. But for some people, maybe it is easy, because They don't have to look a certain way, you know, you don't have to wear a blazer, for example. They are in their room, you know, they can sit on their bed and give the interview, which is not something I recommend though, but I'll come to that later.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, so according to a lot of people, phone interviews are the worst type of interviews. Because they are interviews which are meant to shortlist the candidates in the first go.
Okay.
So when we as recruiters get applications, the first thing we do is to shortlist. We might have 100 people depending on the company. Say you want to apply for Volvo cars, there might be 1,000 people applying for the same job, right? So do you think we can meet everyone? No. So phone interviews are, why they are tough is because they will be analyzed later on. You cannot make an impression based on your personality because it will just be your voice.
Okay.
All right. So a lot of things that happen on the phone are pure how you speak.
So what do you pay attention to as a recruiter?
I think energy. A lot of people think that, okay, it's a phone interview, it's fine, I can be myself. Of course, you have to be yourself, but energy is really, really important. And that we see, if you smile on the phone call, we will hear it.
Yeah, it's psychology behind it.
Yeah, it's just, that's how it works. So energy is the main. I think half of the time we might not even hear your answer completely, but if we find like you're enthusiastic, it gives a great impression to us.
That's useful.
Yes. What is really important when you do prepare yourself for the phone interview? You should always treat your phone interviews as a normal interview. Always. It is not an excuse to just wear pajamas and sit in your bed and not do any preparation. It is not easy to give a phone interview, but it is not impossible either. If you think of it as a normal face-to-face interview and prepare for it, you will be way ahead of other people.
How long is a normal phone interview?
Phone interviews are pretty short compared to a face-to-face interview. So here in Sweden, for example, first face-to-face interview can be 1 hour long, whereas a phone interview can be maximum 20 minutes.
Maximum 20 minutes.
Maximum. It really depends on the person. So if you really fill in the gaps, there's sort of a good interaction. It is 20 minutes. Why? Because it is hardly an interview where we will ask you follow-up questions based on your answers. It's a checklist that we have. Okay, you have this qualification. Why do you want to change a job? Yeah. So it's a very set type of questions. We will ask you, okay, tell me about yourself. That's the first question most of the times, and that is the most dreaded question most of the times.
Yeah, and you're going to share with us how we're going to answer that question, right?
Yes.
Okay, later?
Yes. Later.
Okay,
yes.
Let's move on.
Okay, so the next one would be face-to-face interview. According to me, it's the most important interview and the most common form of interview in any selection process. Here again, really important to be in a good mood. Maybe listen to your favorite happy music, not sad music, happy music. Yes, really important to be in a good mood. Greet everyone with a firm handshake. Maybe not in Corona times, but most of the times.
Most of the times, yeah.
First impression is really important. So when you do a handshake, for example, it's really important that it's firm and you should sell your intention to be there. That yes, I want to be here at this point. Show that you really want to be there, even if you want to take your bag and leave. And also here in Sweden, now there is a cultural aspect when you come to an interview in Sweden. It's really important that you take the coffee or tea.
It's important that
it's important
okay.
Because in Sweden it is viewed as a polite thing to accept an offer. And it's also really important that when you arrive, you're not saying no to the first thing they ask. Okay.
Even if you're trying to be kind and to save some energy.
Exactly, and that's what I mean with cultural aspect is because in America, for example, when I look at videos from America, I see that they tell you not to take it or not to ask for, even if they ask you, it's polite to say no.
Okay.
Right, but in Sweden, it's important that you say yes because most of the times the recruiters are probably waiting to take the coffee with you.
That's good. Good to know.
Yes.
Good to know.
So take at least water if you really, really don't drink caffeine, for example. So it's really important. Yes, and the third type of interview is a group interview. Now, these interviews are not really common. I've been to maybe 2 group interviews, and mostly group interviews are part of either graduate training programs where you really need to stand out to get selected. They are internship programs, can also have group interviews, and group interviews are basically meant to see how you work in a team.
Okay.
Okay.
And what are the key criteria you are watching at?
The most important criteria is how well do you gel with the team. And the team could be other applicants, right? So group interviews are all the applicants that have reached the final stage. So how do you sort of get along with people you have not met? How do you get to know them? And mostly sort of how do you work with people you have not met in one go?
I see.
Okay, and this could be done in different forms. One really important sort of thing that they look at is, of course, teamwork, but also how you convince your team members.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not just how you sort of work with the team, but also how do you steer the task at hand towards the right direction. Okay, so one of type of group interviews can be case studies. So these are really common in, say, accounting firms or business management consulting firms like KPMG, Accenture, etc. And these studies are basically probably something they've worked with in the past in the company. And they have all the material, so they will maybe show you a few graphs, they will show you this is the task, and then you have to analyze. You get about half an hour to yourself to analyze the interview. Okay, and then you have half an hour to discuss it with the team in front of the judges, which are the interviewers then. So it can get pretty daunting, but I really enjoy group interviews because I am...
As a recruiter or as the one
Both.
Okay.
Well, I think as a recruiter it's just really fun to see people try really hard. And the trick in group interviews is basically you need to be calm because in Sweden, like the group is the most important. I remember the first time I went for a group interview was in Unilever. I remember that, and I thought it was great because I was totally convinced I did a great interview. But I know that my approach was not Swedish at all. So here the cultural aspect is really important. So if you're doing interviews in America, you might want to be strong, come as okay, I'm gonna stand out in this environment. But if you apply that concept to Sweden, you are rejected. Why? Because they really don't like people who want to stand out.
So what do you recommend?
I recommend sort of in Sweden a lot of job advertisements will mention that they want someone who likes to be part of a team. And here, although you have an opinion, it's really important to not state it out loud, but to discuss it in the team and say, what do you guys think? Not, I think like this and you should also think like this. But ask them, what do you guys think? So these are really different small cultural aspects which I'm sure all of the people watching have realized already. What type of Swedish culture we have here.
If they had an opportunity to interact with Swedish culture,
Yes.
hats.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, should we move on somewhere? What's the plan?
Are there any questions on this particular slide?
Not right now.
No.
It seems like people are still just listening. So we may continue for now.
Okay.
Somebody is texting. I tried to connect. Sparkle with Choiti is texting. I tried to connect with Noopur and Pritam on LinkedIn. I want to transition myself from traditional marketing to digital marketing. Whom shall I connect?
I think Pritama would be.
Yeah, I think that Pritama is the best person to reach out as the first one. So please do that and Pritama will respond. And Suman is asking, how about HR group interviews? I haven't yet faced yet. HR group interviews, how do they look like for HRs?
I think group interviews can be both, case studies, group activities. And in HR, I think what is important is that you need to still understand the business. When you're in HR, your main job is to support the business that you're in. So I think the group interviews, even in HR, would look the same, because case studies are a form of understanding or seeing whether a candidate understands business and how that connects to their field of work. So a marketing person will look at a different point of view towards the business than an HR person, for example. So it really depends on how you approach it. But I think most of the group interviews that I've been to have had case studies or group activities where they see how you interact with the team, especially in Sweden.
I see.
Yes. Okay. So the next part, I think I will talk more about how to prepare for the interviews. It's really important, as we spoke in the beginning, preparation is one of the main criteria for any type of interview. And one type of preparation is looking up the company and its competitors. Really important. I'm a big fan of this. I used to make really long notes before I used to go for interviews, just because first I want to know whether I want to work for the company. It's a luxurious choice to make. I know a lot of people do not have that choice,
or maybe they have it in their mind that they don't have this choice.
Exactly. You generally should and must think whether you'll be happy in the job that you applied for. Not just because you should be happy, but also if you're happy, then you'll give your best in the job. So I always look at their website. That's the main thing to start with. Main thing I start with: vision and values. What is this company? What do they believe in? What is their what is their vision in the future? Do I believe in the vision? These are the questions that are always asked. Why it is important is first to show that you're prepared for the interview. Second, to understand whether you really want to work for this company. And third, just to show that you're interested and to be able to answer the questions that directly come your way. So for example, if you're asked, tell me what you know about the company, which is really, really a common question that recruiters ask. And whatever answer you give, it needs to be satisfying, and that's why that this is the prerequisite for that answer. So yes, company culture, figure out what type of events they have, current, past events, what are they, young people or more older people, what sort of dynamic do they have, etc. What is their main industry and business, strategic direction and competitors. Why? Because you need to believe in where they're going. If you feel like, no, this is not the industry for me, this is not the business for me, it won't really show in your interview. we can see most of the times if a person is there just for the job and to get paid, or they really, really want to be here.
I personally have very hard time sensing and understanding the company from outside when I just read about it. So my approach is basically reaching out to people who are working there or who used to work there and talking to them about company and asking these questions. I personally find that more real, and I have a better sense of the real internal culture of a company after real communication with a person.
Yes, absolutely. So if you're someone who really wants to know, okay, what I mean, you know, because every marketing of the company is always positive, right? So you would also want to know, okay, how does it actually look from inside? And I agree, you should definitely talk to people who you might have in your network working there. I also like to look at the interviewer. I always search for the interviewer on the LinkedIn page.
Do you?
Yes.
And what are you looking at there?
Not much. I just, first of all, of course, how the interviewer looks like, because when I'm there, I should realize when the interviewer is walking towards me, so I can sort of greet them with a handshake myself. It just makes me...
So it's important to initiate it.
I like to initiate it.
Okay.
Why? Because it just shows that you're not afraid to go out of your comfort zone.
How about hug? No?
No. No, not too much of a comfort zone. I think
Okay.
I think it's really good to have a balance.
Okay.
Yeah. And your interviewer generally will post, they create a personal brand also on LinkedIn. Right? So it's nice to gauge, okay, what sort of personal brand does the recruiter that you're going to meet have, just so that you can maybe find things that you have in common. For example, you might have studied in the same university. That's very common in Sweden because we don't have so many universities here. So you might have interviewers who have studied maybe 10 years back in the same university that you're studying today.
Yeah, so and you already have a topic to discuss.
Exactly.
Icebreaker. Okay, makes sense.
So, you know, if shit hits the fan, sorry for my word choice, but you can always go back to, hey, you know what, I saw that you're from the same university. Tell me how was the study pattern like in your days? Of course, make sure like they are from really, really long back. Don't ask in your days if they have just studied 2 years back. So yeah, so you get the point. You know, you need to know your interviewer. Definitely. So yes, all of these points will help you answer the most sort of so-called tough questions. Mostly questions are tough when you have not prepared and you do not know about the company. We will talk about that more when the questions come. Are there any questions?
Yeah, we have several questions if you're finished with this slide, so we'll get to questions, and I'm thinking maybe we should show ourselves to people a bit so that they don't forget how we look like while we're talking.
Yes.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Hi guys, we are back again. So we have a couple of questions to answer for you right now. So first of all, do you have any suggestions when it comes to the questions about salary expectations?
Okay, so salary, it's a really tough question. It really depends on what stage of the interviewing it comes at. I generally always avoid it on phone interviews because that's not where you want to be shortlisted, or not shortlisted because you actually don't have realistic expectations. You might ask for 52,000 kronor, you know, and that might not be the market value. So always, if it's a phone interview or a first interview, you should always say either that we can take this discussion a little further on because I would like to know where this is going, or you can say that I'm not sure, let me check the market value and get back to you on this.
I personally like one of the tips which I'm using from time to time and I'm recommending is basically saying that I'm pretty sure that you can do a really good offer. So do something yourself first, offer something yourself, and then we'll review and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's basically I'm trying to make a recruiter the first move.
Yeah.
So that it's not coming from me, but it's coming from a recruiter.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as a strategy, my goal is to raise it.
Exactly, exactly. I think when it comes to salary expectations question in later stage, this is a great way to use it, because when I take interviews, I generally don't know what you're gonna get, you know, for example. But if you're meeting the recruiter, that it depends who you're meeting, right? I am never told what you're gonna get, because I'm a middle recruiter. We have managers that then also take interviews, which will know what they have in mind. And I feel, at least in the field of IT, for example, it definitely works, your approach, because they have a figure in mind. And if you start with your figure, it might be less than what they had, for example.
Absolutely.
So it's a great strategy. Really
and
good.
the good thing with Sweden in particularly is that the range of salaries is pretty much regulated, which doesn't really provide too much space for movement within this range. Yes. And from my perspective, for those people who don't feel really confident to discuss this type of issue, it is a safe zone. Not to challenge anyone, but still to be sure that you will get at least not less than vast majority of people get there. Right?
Exactly. But also, you should not sort of think that you cannot get more than the range also, because I've had people who have broken that range and gone further. So it really depends on what I think salary negotiation is in the interviews is the most tough thing, the toughest. And that requires also practice, you know, just talk to people, what have they done, and find a really good strategy that works for you.
And it's definitely not the initial stage of interviews, right? It's
no,
like the very final stage.
Like if you're going to the third interview, that's when you should answer the question. Otherwise, just avoid it whatever way you can. Yep.
Okay, so the next question, thanks Noopur for commenting on it. We hope that you get some insight, otherwise keep on asking, or the most important, if there are some questions which we will not manage to answer during this session, reach out to us individually and then we will make a follow-up and we will discuss everything later in a personal mode. Maybe you have some personal individual situation.
Yeah.
So the next question, are the questions aimed at conflict resolvement for assessing if you're a team player or to see how you handle tough situations? I think it has to do with group interviews.
Yes.
Or maybe not, but understand as an HR.
I'll try to answer this the best I can. I think group interviews or to see whether team interviews, how you work in a team. It can be both, how to see whether you can deal with a tough situation or conflict resolvement, but generally it's mostly sort of seeing what your dynamics are in a team, because you don't really have a conflict when you meet people for the first time.
You can create.
Hopefully, but hopefully you will not have a conflict, and I think it's more sort of to see whether you can convince people who you've just met.
Okay, how you can convince
what are your dynamics, how do you greet them to start with, for example. Are you confident, are you shy, are you scared, you know, all of those types of things. So some people are introverts, so how do you deal with that? If you're an introvert, does that mean you won't get a job in HR? No, it just means how you will show that you have
how you're managing it in life.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be that your personality is end all be all. So it's just to see when you interact with other people how you manage.
Makes sense, for me at least. Yes. Hopefully people also get some sense in it.
Yes.
Okay, the next question. How to handle a situation in which you have a bad connection and it's hard to understand the recruiter?
That's the thing I'm trying to tell you to avoid. I think a bad connection, of course, you can have a recruiter where you don't connect at all. That has happened to me. I think in that situation, I always make the interview about the interviewer. Why? Because then they do the talking most of the times.
Okay.
That's my strategy. It doesn't have to work for everyone. But when an interviewer sort of I don't connect with them, then it's good that they do the talking, so I don't have to sit there in awkward silence thinking about, oh god, what do I say now? But another thing is always try to connect with your recruiter, whatever, like just find, it can be about the weather, you know, and it's in Sweden we love to talk about weather. Oh, okay, it's raining today and it's, you know, it's a really nice sun. What are you gonna do after your work today?
That's true. But sometimes I just want to emphasize that even recruiters, they're human beings, and we don't know what is happening in their life on that particular day.
Yes.
Probably somebody broke their remote and probably they lost their phone or something else happened. So sometimes, even if it happens, try not to take it personally.
Definitely. I think recruiters, some of them are really cheerful, some of them can be sort of just poker face. I think the main thing is to get them talking, to get them interacting, ask about the weather. And in Sweden, it's really okay to ask about their personal life. Not too much, but it's okay to ask. If they ask you, okay, do you have a family? It's okay to ask them back. It's fine.
How about you?
How about you? You know, and that's where most of the people are really happy to talk about their family. They're happy to say, oh yeah, I have 2 children, 11 years old or 15 years old, you know. So they really like to mention these things. So it doesn't have to be something in common. If you don't have anything in common, go for the weather to start with, break the ice. It's okay to ask about family.
Yeah, I also think so. It's absolutely fine to ask what you did during the weekend, how was your day, and how many more interviews do you have after me, probably.
Absolutely.
It depends on how you're asking, and make sure that you're putting smile on your face, because smile is an icebreaker by itself.
And it's contagious, so even if they're having a crappy day, they will cheer up.
Yeah, so make sure that you bring in that energy which you want to have during the interview. It's basically part of your responsibility to make it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's answer one more question before we continue, because we have already a number of questions to answer, so that we make this switches from session itself to answering questions to change some dynamics, basically, so that we're not that bored here also just telling you about the PowerPoint which we're having.
Yeah.
So the next question. Many recruitments are postponed now because of Corona crisis. I will be graduating this June. What do you recommend? Job hunting during Corona crisis. That's a very relevant question, unfortunately, very, very relevant.
Yes. I actually sort of thought about this question before coming because I knew this would be one of them.
That's good.
Yes, and you know, right now is a tough time. Everyone is going through it. But the good news is everyone is going through it. Do you get me? So everyone knows that the market is tough. Everyone has to put in extra effort. And that is what I meant when I said that we want you to use this time to prepare for the future. Now, this is not hopefully going to be a situation forever. It might be there until August, as far as I know, as far as I've heard in the industries.
Yeah, I also heard this type of prognosis that it's going to last till September, till the final quarter of the year.
Yes, exactly. So if you're graduating in June, chances are that you might not get interviews, back-to-back interviews really quickly. But I also know a lot of recruiters are taking this chance to actually pick up great candidates from the market. Because now a lot of candidates are available. Right? So if you think about this crisis as a sort of permanent thing, then it's not going to help you at all. But if you think about it as that, okay, I have time, I'm gonna take this time, improve myself so much that I'm ahead of the game. And it might sound philosophical, but it's really, really true. If you practice, your interviews are gonna be 100% hit. every single time.
So I would recommend to put all your effort just to practicing interviews, but maybe you want to explore what type of skills are needed on the labor market.
Absolutely.
And what else may be needed for you so that you get this competitive advantage when you're applying for jobs. But there is one more thing which I personally am doing right now at this period of time, so I will just share with you my tip. I am reaching out to people and scheduling with them video meetings. It helps to save time, but at the same moment I talk to different people whom I feel potentially interesting or relevant or useful, so that I get the information about my environment. I get to know more about companies I'm potentially interested in. I get to know more about market, about salaries, just establish my personal network through video meetings. And it's also a very helpful way to do. So potentially you can really set a schedule for yourself, explore people who may be useful for you, may be interesting for you, and just reach out to them. Send a message on LinkedIn and say, hi, I'm very much interested in your company and maybe even the job you're doing. Can we schedule a video meeting? I will be happy to get to know you in person. I wish it would be possible to meet physically, but considering the circumstances, can we make it virtually? And you save time and it's safe and you are doing something productive.
Absolutely. I agree. Absolutely.
Okay, so we answered half of the questions we have. Should we continue with the seminar?
We can take these questions later on also.
We'll continue. We'll continue with the questions later. So guys, keep on posting them. And right now we are getting back to our presentation.
Yes. So after you have researched about the company, the next thing to do is research about the role. If you have applied for the job through a job application, there'll always be a job description. It's really important to read it. Why? Because these are the guidelines that the recruiter will base their questions on. Questions are always semi-structured, so they will ask you follow-up questions, but it's really important to understand the job description. Now, all job descriptions are not the same. They're not built the same because a lot of different people make them. Even in one company, you might have a template, but if you just look closely, they are made by different people. So you will realize that one job description does not exactly match the other. There are templates.
My personal experience with reading these job descriptions, I don't get them, honestly. I'm reading, potentially I can have an idea what this job is about, but I don't really feel confident that I fully understand what the job is about until I talk to somebody from this company. So again, before actually making my judgments about an opening, I am trying to find somebody to whom I can talk to within this company, to have it as a context. So that then I can, as Noopur said once, decode interview and put it into context, because there are often a lot of fancy and very vague words which basically can mean often anything.
Absolutely. And it's a good rule of thumb not to take job descriptions as sort of really seriously, because half of them are trying to attract you as a candidate to the company. So the big words that you see, the words that you don't really understand, just find a synonym for it in Google and you'll see. All right. Most of the times there are also job descriptions which have a requirement which has to do with a particular software, for example, in a computer. And these softwares sort of, it just makes you more scared, because you might not have used the software before, you might not have used a certain workspace before. But what is really important, and that is what I want to talk about how to study a job description, is really important that you read through it. You highlight the must-haves, which means that there are a certain amount of jobs that you have to do. For example, as a recruiter, I have to take interviews.
Right.
I have to make job descriptions. I have to. I mean, if I'm to attract people, I have to do it. So there are must-haves, and then there are nice-to-haves. For example, as a recruiter, it's nice for me to know about employer branding. All right. Why? Because if I'm to attract someone, if I understand the psychology behind employer branding, will be easier for me to attract someone. But if I don't know it, it is something I can learn as well.
Absolutely.
Right. So make sure that you highlight all the must-haves and all the nice-to-haves with different colors, and then write them down on a piece of paper. And make some notes separately of your key achievements and strengths and skills. And this could be that, okay, they want me to take interviews. I've taken interviews before in this and this and this job. I've matched my requirements, right?
Yeah.
So it's nice to do it for each job description. After some point, when you have enough practice, when you have enough understanding of what a job description is, you don't have to do it so much, but you will see your own qualification matching as soon as you read the description.
Yeah.
So this type of exercise is good to know or good to do when you are sort of new to the job market or new to a job market in another country. It's nice to be able to understand these things and practice.
Yeah.
So that after a while it just becomes a thing in back of your head, basically.
Yeah, that's true. One thing which just came to my mind is that statistics which a lot of people talk about applications for men and women. Is it true that men are more confident with job application than women? And how would you comment on it?
Yes, I think as per several studies, several books that I've read, unfortunately it is really true that some men find it easier to apply for a job which maybe matches only 50%, which they only match 50% of the requirements. For example, a woman, on the other hand, would wait until she's gathered experience in the 90% of the job requirements.
90%?
90%.
Is it what you also notice in your practice, in your experience?
See, I'm from the IT world, so no. But in general, in the IT world, there are more men, so that's why.
Okay.
Possibly.
Okay.
But I know this as a personal experience. I know before I used to apply for jobs, I only matched maybe not 90 but 80%. And I would really see that, okay, I don't know this, how can I apply for it? And I have this really crazy self-doubt that comes in my way. So that is something really common in women, unfortunately. Same with salary negotiations, for example. Even if and this is not generalizing anything, this can apply to men also. But sometimes it's really tough for women to ask for a certain amount of salary, for example, in salary negotiations. So they will always sort of not end up in the end, but it's a practice that you need to do to not have the fear of asking for more and what you deserve, basically.
I've heard that there exists like double standards with respect to negotiating salary for men and women. So when a man is negotiating a salary, he is considered as positive character, while when a woman is negotiating a salary, she is considered with negative context. So is it true?
That is something I cannot really comment on because I don't know the statistics of it. But it's something to do with, again, the personality. It's the same, for example, if this is also a part of a study, that if women go to a doctor, they will downplay their symptoms as opposed to men. Because they don't want to look weak, So these are us, personality as a man and a woman. I think it just comes with the personalities, and but this is not end all be all. I think you can train yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Into it. I think just apply for that job. Like, just do it. If you get a negative answer, fine. Like, move on. And that's how men think. As far as I know, that's how men are like. Okay, let's see what happens.
Yeah,
and sometimes I really like the let's see approach to things. I take it myself nowadays. I always think like, okay, how will a certain person in my life, in sort of maybe my father or brother or whatever, boyfriend, how will they think in this situation, and apply that, and generally things sort themselves out. Sometimes you get into trouble, but generally it's fine. Okay, yeah, but yes, so it's really important to study the role, really important to understand whether you are matching the requirements, but yes, not to overdo it.
Okay.
Also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still have something to say about your slide, or you feel like we may get back to questions because we have questions accumulating exponentially?
I love questions. That's the one thing I really love. So go ahead.
So let's show us and let's get back to questions. Hello guys, we are back. And the next question, which we still didn't answer, is what should I do if I usually get rejected even before getting a chance to interview? Can you please give tips on how to make my resume more attractive to recruiters?
Yes, I think right now would be not the time to do it, but I definitely would love to. So contact us personally and we'll help you. We have gone through the CV part a lot of times, and we have a lot of good tips to give.
Yeah, initially we started to do it as like within groups, but then we understood that individual approach is more helpful for people. So reach out to us individually and we'll take a look at your CV and we'll start from there, I think, right?
Absolutely. And also don't forget that CV is not the only thing, especially in Sweden. I think maybe you should also contact Prithama for personal branding on LinkedIn, and also Christina on networking tips, and even Anastasia because you contact a lot of people.
Yeah, so to sum up, reach out to us and then we'll see what we can do.
Yes.
Should we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question, for the salary question, if we say that we're not sure about the value, won't it imply that we haven't done enough research?
Good question. Really good question. It will, but it depends on how you say it. So you can always say that I don't know how I have, according to my research, this is the value. But let's talk about also what I'm worth, what is my CV, or what my experience is like. So it really depends on how you word it. Generally, I have been okay with that answer. I would say, okay, can I do my research and get back to you? Because even if it implies that you have not done enough research, you can always say that salary is not the first thing for me.
Is it a good answer?
Yeah. I think the fact that in the first interview you have not done research about salary shows that salary is not the only thing for you. Okay, but you should do your research. You see what works out for you. It's okay to say that to a recruiter, at least. That's my experience. I don't know, what would you say?
I would say I'm sure you will do a great offer.
Yeah.
And smile.
I'm gonna use this next time. Let's see how that works out for me.
Okay, somebody commented, I also wanted to point out that there are some FAC, Union of Workers, who can probably help you with salary negotiations or tell you what you can expect in if you are a member, of course.
Yes.
Do you have to be a member? Do you have to work in order to be a member of this union?
No, there is Unionen, for example. They have a membership for students as well. You can always just give them a call and they help you out. They're really helpful.
Makes sense.
In Sweden. So whatever questions you have about salary, negotiation, what is my experience like? Okay, my experience is 3 years in this field. How much do I deserve, or how much will I get? Based on my age, because in Sweden even age matters when it comes to
age,
salary.
Experience, education, and a lot of other things.
Exactly.
You will get kind of a range, I assume, right?
Yeah.
From this till this, and within this range you can negotiate.
Exactly. And on the union website there is also a calculator. It's called Lönekalkylator, and it's basically how you what you'll get paid. So they just ask a question, okay, how many years of experience do you have, what's your age, the same questions that you don't even need to call them for. So you can use this calculator to basically calculate what you'll get.
And one more thing which I wanted to ask you in this context. For example, a lot of people emphasize salary, while I know that basically your contract consists not just of the salary. There are also a lot of other benefits which you can get for free, which can compensate probably lower salary, but you can get something extra. What can this be?
I think there are a lot of benefits in every company. Now, if I understood your question right, what are the other aspects you need to consider in a contract?
For example, I know some people get free membership to gym club. Some people get free tram tickets. Some people get, I don't know, extra week of vacation. Some people get the 13th salary, and it all depends. Maybe some people get percentage of something. So what is your experience and what is your attitude to these things? Can you comment a bit on that?
Yes, I think it really, you should give importance to what suits your lifestyle, okay, or your life. For example, if you have kids, it's great with that 1 week of extra vacation. If you don't have kids but you travel a lot from one place to another, at least 45 minutes to 1 hour, you can ask them to provide you compensation for the travel. It can be you're an active person, you really spend a lot on your health, be it massages or gym or etc. Then friskvårdsbidrag. Nowadays in companies, friskvårdsbidrag is sort of, everyone gets it, because it's important in Sweden to concentrate on your health. So but the amount might vary, so it really depends. You can always negotiate even the friskvårdsbidrag, if I'm not wrong. But it's really nice to see your base salary is important, of course. You should always negotiate it as much as you can. But also make sure that in Sweden we don't pay for schools, we don't pay for hospitals, we don't pay for a lot of things. So a lot of expats or immigrants who come here, they expect a certain number, and it's very common. That's something I have seen a lot. So you're not from Europe, even if European countries which are not Scandinavian, they really focus on the numbers. Right? What is the final amount I'm getting? But it's really nice to see a breakdown of what is sort of the company paying for you, what benefits are you getting, can you negotiate holiday, can you negotiate lesser work time, etc., etc. So you can always see how the whole thing adds up. But yes, base value matters, of course. At the end of the day, definitely.
That's true.
Yes.
Thank you. Let's move to the next question. Do you have any examples of contacting people in the company that I'm in? That I'm in. Would you like to suggest some university courses related to HR field? I think these questions are separate. So do you have any examples of contacting people in the company that I'm in? I'm not sure I understand the question. I'm very, very sorry about this. Let me scroll back the story. I'm sorry, how about we skip this question and you reach out to us after the session so
Yeah.
that we talk in person about it and we don't give you irrelevant comments and we don't take time from the rest of the people, right?
Yeah.
Is it okay? We are very, very sorry.
Yeah, I think if it means that examples of contacting people, maybe you're doing an internship, for example, I think just contact them. I think they will be more than happy to help.
Right. The next question, would you like to suggest some university courses related to HR field? I think this question is more to you.
Yes.
HR field.
I think there are two aspects to this. There is a master's course, for example, which I did. It's a great way. Just take a degree if you have the time. But I think the courses that are really important, and I don't have that course, which is labor law. Labor law is really important for HR in Sweden. Unfortunately, most of the labor law courses, or all of them, are in Swedish.
Yeah, and I think that this question is a little bit complex because there are certain prerequisites and requirements which have to be met before application to the university. Even if it's a freestanding course, you still have to meet the requirements. So I know that right now there is an application window till the 15th of April. And you may explore, website is called universityadmissions.com or SE or something like this. We will post it if you will need it later down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Explore the information there and reach out to study counselors. Each faculty at university has own study counselor, and it will help you to save some time and just to get relevant information in your personal context. But pay attention to freestanding courses. So there are whole masters and there are some freestanding courses, and basically both of them work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, next question. Maybe I think that I found the answer. Do you have any examples of contacting people in the company that I'm interested via LinkedIn? I often got no response, wondering if something I wrote wrong.
Aha!
Oh, I'm sorry, I put together two pieces of the question. So, examples of contacting people in the company that I'm interested via LinkedIn.
I think you are the pro in this, so you should take it.
I think that we have to talk about it in person, but the quick tip which I can give to you is that do your homework before you're reaching out to a person. Make sure that you collect enough information about what connects you, why exactly you're reaching out to this particular person, so that your message is personalized. I personally hate when somebody just adds me to LinkedIn without any comments why this person is adding me, and I hate when somebody texts like, "Hi, how are you?" to start the conversation. I hate it personally. But when somebody is texting me something along the lines, "How I found you in context of this and this activity and I would like to get to know more about it, let's stay connected, or maybe we can come up with a video meeting or something," I always am very responsive. And the same I experience the other way around. When I'm reaching out to people, I'm making sure that I know why I'm reaching out to this particular person. So I explore company, I explore this person, I explore this role of this person within the company, so that I know as much as I can before I actually make a strategy how to reach out to this person. I never make just random connecting requests, never. It's not the way to go, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, next. What to do if you try to contact them but you cannot reach them? I tried phone, SMS and email and no answer.
It depends on who them is.
Yeah.
And why you're contacting them and how you're contacting them. So this is not something I can answer right now. Maybe we can take this.
Yeah, exactly. It's very contextual, but again, make sure that you personalize your message. Yeah. It's like linked to the previous answer. You just link to it.
And also it's important not to ask for a job. in the message.
Yes, never ask for a job. So there is such a thing as adding value or expressing interest to a person. When you are expressing interest to a person on a personal level and genuinely, it always works much better than when you are sending a message. Even if you have good intentions, you are trying to save time and just get to the point directly, it's not how it's working. Make sure that you create a several step strategy before you get to the point of asking for a job opportunities for yourself.
Yes, exactly. And you don't want to ask a stranger for a favor in the first place.
Yeah, but you can be very interested in this person, and trust me, when somebody is feels that one is interesting for someone, life is interesting, what you are doing in daily life is interesting for someone, of course a person gets much more open to share about own life with you. So you will be listening, you will be positively, I don't know how to put it in a proper way right now, but you will share your admiration and excitement and gratitude for a time, and this person will open up for you. And when the person opens up, then it's easier to move the conversation further towards your goal. So it's a strategy.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, I'm revealing my secrets. Just strategy. Okay, next.
Should we take it later? Or
let's take a look of how many more messages do we have. We still have quite a lot of messages.
Ooh.
Okay.
It's good, guys. You're asking questions. I love it.
But yeah, you're right. Let's get back to our presentation so that you continue and people accumulate a little more messages, and then we'll go back to it.
Exactly.
So we're moving back to our PowerPoint.
Yes.
Please.
And now for my favorite part, I think I really have fun with this part. Types of interview questions. So there are. This is my analysis. According to me, there are 3 types of questions, and you can divide those questions in getting to know you questions, why us questions, behavioral questions. And these questions come up every single interview, whether it's a phone interview, whether it's a face-to-face or group interview, because even in group interviews, you have to sort of demonstrate a certain type of, it's not direct questions, but indirect questions which are asked. Okay, so what are getting to know you questions? These are the questions which a lot of people really, really hate, because you have to talk about yourself, and that's not very easy for a lot of people. And it's also, let me tell you, a matter of practice.
I personally, a couple of times received a question, tell something fun about yourself, and trust me, it's never fun.
Yeah.
It's never fun.
Exactly. You think you're the most boring person on earth, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the first feeling you get. Okay, what have I done which is fun? I don't think you will be interested, you know. But I think more than that, tell me about yourself question.
Don't ask me this question now.
Yes, so tell me about yourself question is the most dreaded question in any part of the world. I can really, I hate it myself. And so how do you answer it?
How do you answer it? You're an expert, don't ask me. I'm looking forward to know the secrets.
Yes, so how you answer it, it has to do with your pitch, your elevator pitch. So what is an elevator pitch? It's a pitch, or it's a small paragraph about yourself that you prepare. Say, for example, me and Anastasia meet in an elevator for the first time, and Anastasia really wants to know who I am and what I do. Okay? So I want to sort of create an answer which will last our trip from 50th floor to first or ground floor. Okay, and that's an elevator pitch. And in this pitch, it's really important what you choose to include. And here is where things go wrong. Why? Because when I'm sitting in an interview and I ask people, okay, please can you tell me about yourself, there are people who start from 1995 Okay.
Nice.
In 1995, I did this. Then in 2002, I did this, and this answer will go on for 15 minutes. By that time, I have lost half of my interest, not because I don't want to be interested, but just human psychology.
Okay.
Okay, so how do you make it easier? You create an answer which spans for 1 minute or 2, which will tell about you. Okay, my name is etc. etc. You generally don't even have to say that because your interviewer will know your name. And then you start saying, okay, so currently I'm working at this place, or currently I'm studying in University of Gothenburg, for example. And prior to coming to Gothenburg, I did this, and these are the field of my expertise. And a fun fact about me, I ran the Gothenburg half marathon last year. That's it. And then you stop there and you let the interviewer ask you follow-up questions. That's how you answer that question.
So basically your task is to make the person ask you more questions.
Yes. And isn't that the task in every interview? You want that person to be more curious of you rather than bored of you. Right? And it's like a trailer. Okay, here's me telling you about myself really shortly, so you can ask me what I did and why, what for example drove me to run the half marathon in Gothenburg. Then I can tell you because I wanted to test my limits, for example. So it is it's an art to create this answer. You will not get this answer in 5 minutes. You will probably spend 1 hour writing a big answer, and then you'll shorten it and shorten it and shorten it every time, and I am still improving my answer to date.
Yeah.
It will never be satisfying in one go. It will always be evolving because you will have more experiences, you'll have better experiences, you'll have gone out of your comfort zone even more.
Do you think it's enough for a person to have one elevating pitch, or there should be several depending on context?
I mean, I think one elevator pitch to understand who you are, because this is about you. But it's nice to have you should always have a contextual elevator pitch so that you can change it to match different types of situations. You can maybe see, okay, the recruiter looks like they want really detailed answer. Then you should have a elevator pitch that is maybe more than 2 minutes long, maybe 3 or 4 minutes long, to tell more about, okay, when I worked in this job, I learned this, a little bit more detail. But if you see a recruiter who probably looks like, okay, let's do this more sort of a casual talk, then the first approach works, I think. But it's nice to always have to gauge your environment.
Yeah, makes sense.
Definitely. But I don't think you need, I think start with one elevator pitch.
Okay.
Right? And then you can always sort of better it and make it contextual as well.
Okay, makes sense.
But try not to lead your elevator pitch with what you have done in your work. Because in Sweden they like to break the ice, and if you are gonna ask, tell me about yourself, and you're gonna start with your work, I have done this, and this. That's not the only thing you have done, right? Like, you're more than your work. So tell me about yourself is more than just what you have done in your working life. Now again, this could be contextual. Maybe it doesn't work like that in America or India or other countries, and that's why it's so important to practice this answer, wherever you are. Yeah.
Okay,
Should
interesting.
Change the slide?
Yeah, next slide. We finished already why ask questions, behavioral questions.
No, I'll come to that, but this is just a list of questions that I really,
Here we are.
And these are the questions that I really, really connect with, because they really dig your insecurities and they make you sort of, for example, why should we hire you is a synonym to what have you got that others haven't, what is your USP or unique selling point? I really like this question because it really sees a person's mindset, how they think about themselves. Here you don't really have to think you're a superstar. You should, but you don't have to. You just have to realize that you have done something and you're proud of it. Hardly do we sit and compare people's strengths and be like, oh, he has more experience in this, we should take him. No, we always go for a full package. We always go for a personality. And this question is not just, it's not to see how well educated you are or how much knowledge you have crammed into your head. It's more to see what do you think about yourself. It's a trick question.
And I think there should be a refined balance between being humble and confident. How would you recommend to navigate it?
I think honesty is really, really important if you want to be humble, because if you exaggerate what you have worked with and you have not really worked with it so much, it will show through. Okay, unless you of course practice like crazy. That is also possible, but I don't recommend, because this is a personal experience, and being in the IT field, this is something I sort of experience a lot, that when I ask them why should we hire you, or there are other things like, okay, what is your strength? What is your technical strength, for example? I get a lot of times people answering me like, I can do everything. I can do this and this and this and this and this. And that's hardly a good answer, because then you're trying to show that you're the best, but not really showing it. So I think really, really reflect what is your unique selling point. What is it that you think, okay, this is something I really do well, and then you will automatically be humble. But then, of course, it really depends on how you word your answer, and there are a lot of things that then come with it. Very contextual.
To emphasize and highlight what meets your context and your application process, basically, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I won't go through all these questions, because it's basically a group of questions. What my whole point to tell you is that getting to know you questions is hardly about how much work experience you have. So it's good to inject it, but it's focusing more on you and your personality. You want to know about you. So for example, what motivates you? A lot of people don't know how to answer that question. What motivates you? Because unless you reflect on that question, you have no clue what motivates you.
Yeah, and improvisation is not the best way to show your best side at all. So you have to think about it. But I just wanted to remind you guys right now, those of you who are listening to us, first of all, thank you for staying so long with us. Up till that moment, it's already been almost 1.5 hours. Wow. But the thing is that at the end we're going to tell you how to get the quite a big list of questions for interview, so that you know what are the most common interview questions asked during the interview. So this is just, on this slide you see just a very small piece of this.
These are my favorite questions.
Yeah, and each interviewer, I assume, has own favorite questions, right?
Yes.
Okay, should we move on, or you want to answer some questions? What do you think?
Do you think I should pick one more from here?
We can move on to the next slide, I think, at this moment.
Yes.
Okay, so right now, why ask questions? Why
so remember when I said that you have to prepare about the company? Here's where you can use it. They will absolutely always say, why our company?
Yeah, and it means that you have to know why. Right?
It's simple. So
and, the answer, because I need a job, is not a good answer at all.
Everyone needs a job. Everyone wants to have food to eat. But here, I think why our company is for your opportunity to show that you have read about the company. You have read about their events. You can always say your company because you believe and your vision is etc., etc. Okay, it's a great impression If you sort of say, I read a lot about your company, I have heard about it, yes, so what, and that's where your preparation comes in handy.
And again, often it helps to reach out to people individually and to ask more about this company.
Yes.
Tell me more how it is to work in this company. Tell me more about your job.
Yeah.
Love these questions.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of in my questions, I always sort of, if I've had a network and I've spoken to people, I always mention, oh, I spoke to this and this person who works in this and this department, and they speak really highly of the company, so I really wanted to give it a try.
Yeah.
Really good answer, and you don't even have to then tell that I've read about the company and the mission. But it's nice to say that I've also after hearing about the company from Mr. XYZ, I also looked up your company, and I really believe in the same values and mission and vision that you have. And it's a wholesome answer.
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
So again, do your homework, right?
Yeah. One question which I love is, what are the traits that you would bring to our company? So what is it that would benefit or add value to our company? And here
that's a tricky question.
Very tricky question. And here is also, it's actually not saying that you should have this and this, it's saying how much do you know about our company culture.
Exactly, because it's very hard to know what to add, what value to add, if you are an outsider and have no idea how it works from inside.
Exactly, and here personal network will help.
Exactly.
What you read online will help. Whether you are following them on social media will help. And you can always give an answer on the lines of, yes, I've been following your company for a while. For example, this event where you had a speaker from this department, and I was really inspired. And it looks like you really believe in knowledge transfer. And I feel that I have had experience with knowledge transfer, and not only gaining but also giving knowledge in my current company. So I feel that this really matches.
So you have to know what to say.
Yes, this is it's a question that you should absolutely prepare for in advance. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, and then there are the two questions, but yeah.
Yeah, so you want to move to behavioral questions, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's so interesting. I'm curious to hear about behavioral questions. Please tell us something about them.
Are there other questions before I move on to this part? Are there other questions on the other two slides?
Do you want to talk about why ask questions? Do you have something else to add right now?
No, I mean from the viewers. Do we have any questions?
I didn't check the stream for quite a while already. We have several questions, but maybe I'm wondering, you want to finish first these types of questions and then we'll continue.
Yes. And then there comes the most common but the most underprepared for questions. And these are the questions that really make people very nervous and they have no idea what to say. In my opinion. And when I started out giving interviews, I had no clue what to say.
That's so interesting.
So when I started stumbling on these questions quite often, I realized I need to do something about it. And these are the questions which start with, tell me about a time when ... you made a presentation that you're proud of, or you had a conflict, resolved a conflict, or solved a problem. You had to work with someone who was difficult. These are the questions they will test you in many ways, and that's why here you need to sort of prepare a lot for these answers. So first, you cannot take all the tell me about a time questions and sit and write them and memorize them. That's not the point. There are lots of scenarios, there are lots of situations where you you probably don't have experience of. For example, a lot of people ask me, I haven't solved a conflict. You know, and I always say to them, there's no way you haven't solved a conflict. You just don't know how to think about a conflict. A conflict doesn't have to be a fight. It can
Some
be...
people avoid conflicts, probably. It's also a way of solving it.
Exactly. So there is a lot of aspects that you need to prepare for in order to answer these questions. But for me, the tool that works is the STAR method. And the STAR method is basically a method which is a skeleton. It provides a skeleton for the answer that you're going to give in the behavioral questions. For example, take any question. For example, tell me about a time when you've solved a problem. Okay. And a lot of times what happens, your brain starts going full power and thinking about all the problems that you're faced in the probably eternity.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the first response. And that's why you need to stop it right there and be like, okay, what is the skeleton, or what is the structure of answer that I need to use? And here you can use the STAR method, which means that you have a situation, you have a task, you take an action on the task, and you have a result. All right, and that's basically where you should end your answer without going too deep in the problem. For example, I am studying at a university. We have a group project in which I mostly do not agree with people's opinions. It's a conflict. It's a pure conflict. It's a problem. Okay. And this is the description of the situation. Recently, we had to solve a mathematical problem in which I did not see the same perspective as most of my team members. So the task is to solve a problem while you do not agree with your team members. Okay?
Yeah.
So my action is I'm trying to understand their point of view and trying to put my point of view in a structured way, so we meet halfway. And the result is that everyone understands each other, and we get to a point where we have made compromises on both sides. That's the answer. And it's really then easy to create an answer out of this method.
Yeah, it's always good to have a strategy in your mind.
Yeah.
A simple model, simple tool which you can apply in a situation.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, this is a method that doesn't just come off the back of your hand. It comes basically before you you need to practice for it. You need to understand, okay, sometimes people start with, and I started with this, that I had no clue that I had faced a problem. Right? So when the situations come, you should have a minimum 3 situations ready for different types of questions. So 3 problems that you solved, or 3 presentations that you're really happy about or proud of, or 3 3 instances when you went out of your comfort zone. Right? If you have 3 examples of different types of scenarios, you can quickly pick one, because you hardly have time to go through your big drawer of scenarios and choose one. You should just have it at the back of your head.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very useful tool.
Yes.
So I think that what is left in your presentation is what questions to ask during the interview, and then follow up after the interview. So how about we get back to questions from our listeners and viewers right now, and then we will continue. Sounds good?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's get back to questions from our viewers, and we are coming back again to you guys. Hi, we're so happy to see you. Questions. So guys, before we proceed with answering questions, make sure that you post the rest of the questions which still come to your mind, but make sure that even if we don't manage to cover everything, reach out to us and then we'll talk in person with you.
Yeah, and we'll make a note of all the questions you have asked anyways.
Yeah, that's right. So next question. Hi, looking at language limitations here, what areas do you suggest one can explore to study these days that are less language dependent?
IT, go for it if you really like it. Again, I would.
Even if you really like it, IT has to do with everything. It's just about boosting whatever you want to do with IT.
But you know, like it really depends. See, the thing is, my approach is that don't try to avoid the language.
Yes, absolutely.
I really feel that even if you're in IT, it's good to know the language. You have a advantage always. I think. And it also shows your mindset towards sort of, okay, I'm in a new country, it's a new culture, but I think it's always nice to know a new language.
Yeah, it's always
I love it. But also it helps you get in the society quite well.
It helps to connect.
It helps to connect, and it will help you be part of a team, like never, you know, like when you don't speak the language, you're mostly, sometimes you're feeling outside of the team, or sometimes you don't understand and they go back to Swedish and you're not understanding. Oh, I wish I could understand. And it's nice to just have the language as a basis to connect with people.
And the thing is that it doesn't take that long to learn it, in fact, and it's not the most difficult language in the world, especially if you speak English. If you speak English, it's like twisting English a little bit, but the most difficult thing is getting used to speaking it. So basically, if you really dig deep into it, dig deep means like maybe an hour per day you put an effort to study during a year, you will be able to read, to write, to understand, to articulate yourself. It may be not as fluent as in English, but you will be able, and over time it will become more comfortable. For example, I was studying Swedish for 15 months, and I graduated with the level which basically allows me to study at university. Can I speak Swedish fluently? No. But can I read? Can I write? Can I understand when people speak clearly? Yes. And I know that if I practice, I will improve it. On the other hand, my husband, for example, he never went to school, and he was just in the environment where people speak Swedish, and it took him exactly the same amount of time just to start to getting the same level as I am. So keep in mind that 1.5 years, if you really put an effort yourself at school or in your environment, you will start speaking Swedish, and it's absolutely normal here. I wouldn't say that it takes you 10 years to start speaking Swedish.
Oh, no. And I think, but you still really want to avoid Swedish, then go for IT. But keep in mind there you also need to learn other type of languages.
But I would say that to study something related to IT, like Python, for example, it's much quicker than to learn Swedish language. Some courses take you just 30 hours and you are already qualified for doing some simple junior jobs with IT area. So think about IT, and again, keep in mind Alex, who helps to make transitions to IT area in case of need. Advertisement, not advertisement because it's for free, but at least keep that in mind.
Maybe we should start charging.
No, we are NGO. We are NGO. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long should wait before contacting the recruiter, as there are some processes that take very long time?
Yes, and that's something I have answered, but I can answer right now. A rule of thumb that I have is wait a week after your interview.
Week after interview.
Or screening process, or it could be a week after you submitted an application. But also I feel sort of after submitting an application, it's nice to give a call to the recruiter and say, hey, I'm really interested, I want to know more. But make a genuine call, maybe in fact even before applying, to know what you could include in your CV or cover letter, for example. But when it comes to screening process after an interview, wait a week.
I will do just mind reading a bit. Do we need to contact after sending CV before an interview, and when should it happen?
As in, sorry.
For example, you submitted your application, you sent CV, but you still didn't hear anything back, so you didn't have an interview yet.
No.
So for how long should you wait after you submitted your application?
A rule of thumb again, 1 week, but it doesn't have to be 7 days. It can be 5 days or 4 days, but don't sort of call them the next day because they need some time to look into it.
And I've heard that never call on Monday.
No.
Never call on Monday.
Everyone has too much to do on Mondays, so try to call maybe Fridays. Generally, they're really happy to answer. I am happy.
You are happy on Fridays. So Friday morning, afternoon. When do we have to call?
Afternoon.
Friday afternoon.
No, but don't take it as a set in stone. Just sort of feel after, and don't be afraid if they don't answer the phone, or generally don't just call and not text them. Say for example, I call and then I don't text them why I called and who is calling, because a lot of numbers are really unknown numbers. So if I get a call, I don't really call them back unless I know who they are.
Yes, makes sense.
Right, so if you have called and they have not answered your phone, always text, hi, my name is this and this, I applied for this position, I would really like to talk to you more about it.
Personal question. As a recruiter, how do you perceive these types of calls? Do you feel like somebody is annoying, or you're happy when somebody is proactive?
I mean, it really depends on what sort of question they ask. If they call and I pick up and then they say, hey, have you looked at my application? Without even introducing themselves, I get really annoyed, obviously, because I have no idea who you are, first of all, and why are you asking me sort of such a confrontational question. But if you're calling to know, okay, where's the process at, what is the job actually, just to show your curiosity. I love those conversations.
You love those conversations. Do you remember then these people?
Yes. I will check them online. Yeah, I will check them directly after. Yeah. So if you're gonna call, prepare and call. No, don't just call like just pick up your phone. Just prepare and then call.
Okay. Next question. Hi, I got the email from somebody that the screening process is starting this week. I would like once again to show my interest for this role. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. I didn't understand the question.
Wait, have you again done some?
Because there is no question. Hi, I got the email from that the screening process is starting this week. I would like once again to show my interest for this role. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions.
Maybe it is a comment from Preetama, if I'm not wrong.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay, we skip this for now and then.
Yes,
and then
we are sorry. We are sorry. I'm inexperienced moderator. I'm very sorry for that. I will improve.
We are trying.
Okay, next. How can I ask hiring manager about the reason of my rejection, or the way by which I will get to know what I'm lacking for that particular job?
It's great to ask for feedback. I think it is something that, if you email them saying, hi, I was really interested in this position, I understand that I was not selected. Could you give me an honest feedback on why? Most of the times you will not get an answer on that, which is satisfying, because generally it's nothing wrong with your profile. It could be that others were just better in maybe personality, or they fit in the team well, because here they look at a lot at how you fit in a team.
Yeah.
But there will be some recruiters who will be willing to give you honest feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just answer that the competition was tough and we had a lot of good competitors, like try next time, but it's not helpful at all.
No.
So it's great probably to be a bit assertive to get feedback. Maybe it's not very pleasant experience to get this feedback, but it definitely helps to grow. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, next. It was related to the job description. When you want to know more about the job but you cannot reach him/her to clarify your doubts about rejections, also common they don't answer you. I think it has to do with the further, like the above question, when somebody was trying to reach out to somebody but couldn't get feedback. It had to do with the somebody who basically didn't give an answer about rejection.
Yes, I think, and this is something that you absolutely should not take personally, because unfortunately, recruiters have X number of candidates, and if they have to sit and give feedback and personal feedback to every single person in the process, it will take a lot of their time. So sometimes we have time, we take it, we write a good feedback, and then we send it. But most of the times we don't have that capacity, just in terms of time, to put to everything, and we get a lot of such emails. So I think who do we give feedback to? Someone who's probably come a little bit further in the interviewing stage. For example, a second interview, because at each stage you shortlist people, and then there are a few people at the end of it. So I think those people we have the possibility and the time to answer. But don't despair, because it's not like no one will answer you. It's just don't take it personally. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's really important not to take it personally. It's absolutely only to do with the time, and that is also, some recruiters don't want to not reply, and in that situation they will reply, oh, it's just the competition was a lot, because that's a standard answer. You know, and sometimes there is a lot of competition, that's how it is, and you know, you have to take that too. So
okay, we have 7:45 right now, and we have to decide what we're doing. So my thinking is that first of all, we want quickly to finish with your presentation, what's in your agenda, and then we will let people know how they can get the list of most common questions. And then after that, we will give answers to the rest of the unanswered questions from the chat. How does it sound?
Yes.
Sounds okay?
Sure. Yeah.
So let's continue with the presentation at this point, and we're going to talk about
the questions you can ask. And also this is a question that I get a lot. What do I ask the recruiter after they are done with their interview? Especially, why should I ask? And it is important to ask questions to the recruiter, because that's how you get information about your future possible team. That's how you get information about what you really want to what you want to show. For example, you want to show that you really want to know about the team because you're a team player, for example. So there are two. It's a double-edged sword. So you really need to be careful with what you're asking. A lot of people ask. The first question they ask me is, "When will I know about the result of the interview?" Great question, but do not ask that. That is not the question you have to start with.
Okay.
Because you are jumping right to the result of the interview. It's quite selfish, and it does not show that you're interested. You just want the job, right? And even if that's your intention, please show interest. And how do you show interest? I really like these 4 questions that I've written. For example, always ask about, what is the team like? Are there more males than females? Are there more females than males? Where are they from? It's an international team or a Swedish team, etc., etc. You can ask any of these. What's the culture of the company like? That's a really relevant question, because you want to know whether you fit into the culture of the company. Right? What would you? This is my favorite, because this is coming from the recruiter directly. This is a question directly to the recruiter. What would you say is the best part of working in company X? I really like that question personally, because they will tell you, hopefully, the most honest answer from their perspective. And this is probably also to engage them in the conversation. And then, of course, if you really feel like you want to clarify or highlight some points, you can always ask, do you have any doubts about my profile that I can clarify, for example. So these are the things that really they're important to ask. Yeah. And then once you're ready with once you're done with the interview and you've said bye, and you have firmly shaken your hands, etc., etc., you should always write a thank you email after the interview. And that could be my personal opinion, but it's nice to write an email to say thank you for your time, I really enjoyed meeting you, I hope to hear from you soon. It's a nice full stop after the interview, I feel, or a comma, if you may. And then again, I've written here, wait at least a week before you ask for feedback. Yes. And if they're really, really interested, they will possibly call you before the week is ended. So a week, by 1 week, I mean 5 days, 5 working days.
It depends. I think it depends on company and...
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not like, okay, if they don't call you within the week, it's like they are not interested. There could be 100 different views, but always wait a week before you call them, because they might be making their choices. They might be thinking, what is it that is sort of not working, or working, or if they like you, etc. So they will take a week.
Are you guys hearing us? Because we have some weird situation. Screen has gone dark.
Oh.
And do you still hear us? We have some issues on the screen. Do you still hear us, guys? No? Screen has gone dark. We don't know what to do with it.
Okay, maybe we can try answering the questions anyways, or should we change to camera setting?
Yes, people hear
us.
That's good.
That's good. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. At least we have the camera working.
Yeah, at least we have the camera working, hopefully. So, guys, let's do what? So 7:51. We promised to tell you how to basically get the list of questions for the interviews. Do you hear us? Okay. So, yeah, Alex came and he's helping us here at this particular moment. So sorry for these situations, we will improve later down the road.
We are learning, it's a learning opportunity it's a learning curve, definitely.
We basically have finished with the presentation.
Yes.
Right? We are done with it, and we are going to share a presentation with you guys, as if I remember correctly, Pritama comment on it. And we promised to tell you how to get the list of questions for the interviews.
Yeah.
Did you come up with the idea how?
I think we can email it to all the people who attended.
So how about you reach out to Noopur personally on LinkedIn, and you send her a message. I have finished the seminar. Here is my email.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to get the list of questions for the interviews. This will give you a push to connect with her, and at the same moment she will personally send you the information.
Yeah.
Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Good. So let's get back to questions, guys. Unanswered list of questions. Some companies are including this speech in their form, but it is reduced to 200 words, which is very, very limited. 200 words. I would say this is just a comment. From your experience, how long should be the pitch?
I mean, I wouldn't really focus on how many words. Maybe it's an application that you have to fill where they ask you to describe yourself in 200 words. And 200 words sounds a lot to me. I mean, I think you can, depending on how long your current pitch is, I think it's very easy to condense it to 200 words. But this is again contextual, and we can talk about it privately if you wish. But I feel that a minute, I always count it in terms of time. So a minute's worth of speech is always good, and always like include your what are you doing right now, what you did in university, why did you maybe choose the course that you did or the degree that you did, and then you can always end with a fun fact. That should be enough for the pitch.
Fun fact is my painful area.
You need to find it soon.
I always want to cry when somebody is asking me about my fun fact.
Just take something. I mean, you do so many things. I think fun fact could be perform on top, for example.
How fun is it?
It's fun. We have so much fun. We are having fun now. We made mistakes.
Epic fails during live YouTube streaming, right?
I mean, come on, we own it. So
yeah,
we own our mistakes. So
right.
It's fine.
Okay, should we move on?
Yeah.
I have been given feedbacks that we can utilize the keywords from job description for preparing elevator pitch and for why we should hire you questions. What is your inputs into these feedback?
Really good. Yes, you can, but don't overdo it. For example, there are always words which you can mirror, which are in the job description to be able to catch the attention of the recruiter. Also, when it comes to IT systems nowadays, they have systems where they can track your cover letters and CVs based on the keywords mentioned in the job description. These are really good. But in your pitch, if you're gonna say it, make sure it flows into the pitch rather than just picking some words and just making a list of words. So absolutely great feedback, but how you use it is also very important. How you execute
I would say that pitch is working when it is charged with emotions.
Yes.
When you're capable to really project something during the speech, so that you are not just sounding like a robot, blah blah blah, what you've learned by heart.
Yeah.
But make sure that you practice it and that you are capable to incorporate emotions into your pitch.
Exactly. And use your hands and use expressions, put some emphasis on some words and you know what I mean, sort of when you're what you said.
I think you are right. You're right, yes. I understood you. I'm not sure that people understood you, but I did.
That's important.
Okay, let's move on. Is it okay to be honest and tell them that I wasn't in any such situation, or should I make up things that are favorable to me? I think it has to do with if somebody is asking you, tell me about such and such experience in your life.
Yeah.
So what's your suggestion?
It really depends on what sort of experience. So if you're talking about, tell me about a time you faced a conflict, I can assure you, you will have faced a conflict in your life. If you feel like sometimes it's okay to mention personal aspects. For example, I have in the past mentioned about how I moved to Sweden and how difficult it was for me to navigate through the job market and learn Swedish and give interviews in Swedish. And these are personal experiences, but they don't make it doesn't mean that it's less credible, So I feel that always dig into your personal experiences also, and you can always answer most of the questions. If there is a question which you really think, no, I've thought hard about it, I don't have any experience, fine, tell them.
Right.
I feel it's, and this is my opinion, it doesn't have to be correct every time. I feel it's easier to be honest rather than making up a situation just for the sake of it. But if you're comfortable with it, why not? And
maybe some similar.
Similar situation.
That I haven't been in exactly this situation, but maybe this can kind of show how I would behave.
Exactly, and you can always say that I might not have been in this situation, but I gained some knowledge from other situations which make me equipped to deal with this situation if it's to arise in the later stages in life. So you can always navigate the answer.
Yeah, that's right. Next question. I want to return you back a little bit and ask about two not so different things. First, a CV and personal brief. And which one will you look for first of all? Which one is more important to impress HR? So CV or personal letter, basically.
Good question. I think a combination of both. I generally always take the CV, and nowadays I'm also actually including the personal letter in the CV. So it's a 2-page document where first page is my CV and the other one is personal letter, so they see it directly. I feel that if your CV, though, if it's attractive, there are more chances that I'll read the personal letter. So CV, yes. But then it is important that you fulfill the expectations that you have raised in the CV with the personal letter. So it's not like, oh, we are here with the expectation and then they fall down because the personal letter doesn't really match the expectations that your CV built. So it's really important. Both of them are really important. That's my point.
Yeah, but CV I would say is more important from visual perspective.
Yeah. I think to grab attention, really good. But then if we read your personal letter and it's not good enough, then your CV will no longer impress us.
Yeah, that's true. So CV is to capture attention, and personal letter to dig deeper. Good. Let's move on. For me personally, taking feedback on my rejection has never been a pleasant occurrence. I have received only robotic answers, so now prefer better not to ask for it. It's rather a comment than a question. Do you want to comment on it?
I can. I mean, I think it will never be a pleasant experience. We are human beings. We always want to receive good news. That's how we are wired. But I think because you're receiving robotic answers, it's a good way not to take it personally.
Yeah, I think that people just didn't think profoundly before giving you feedback. Yeah. So don't take it even as a feedback, I would say.
Exactly. So then you should ask for it, and also sort of take a rejection as a stepping stone rather than a negative aspect, because each rejection, after each interview, you should analyze what went wrong and also what went right, so you don't repeat the wrong but keep the right. So I think don't take it personally. Absolutely. It's gonna be really tough otherwise. I used to take my rejections really personally and used to, of course, it doesn't mean that you should not feel bad about the rejection, but taking it sort of word to word literally that I'm not at all good is not a good approach to job search at all.
And again, one more thing. When you establish the personal connection with the person before you applied, it's really hard for this person to give you robotic feedback afterwards. Yeah. So it's really good strategic point to establish connection, because to say no is harder to a person who is already in immediate environment.
Exactly.
So networking, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, next. There are companies that are conservative and prefer and tell you Swedish is a must, even though if it is not highlighted in the announcement. Do you recommend to apply in Swedish even if your level is better in written and listening than in talking?
Yes, you should apply, but show that you are trying. So for example, if you want to apply for a position and you feel that your Swedish is at a point where you can read and write, and also talk and understand, why not? Try to make a Swedish CV, try to make a Swedish cover letter, try. There is nothing stopping you from trying. I think what happens is that if you send an English CV and an English cover letter to a Swedish job, generally it doesn't even get viewed. So try to send a Swedish cover letter. I mean, sometimes it's just nice and refreshing to see someone who's trying rather than someone who is just sending out the same cover letter that they sent out for an English job, for example. So you know, even though at the background you might think that Swedish is very crucial, there is nothing stopping you from trying.
Yeah, there are exceptions. We
there
know
are
exceptions when people without Swedish get jobs, which
Exactly.
we thought that they have to speak Swedish fluently, but people get this type of jobs. But the thing is that statistically it happens more rare. So just don't emphasize and don't make it as your one way to go. So consider doing some other things.
Yeah.
It's like common sense, of course, and conventional wisdom. I'm not impressing you with my knowledge right now, but I'm just reinforcing again what you already know, basically. Then, next question. I'm currently based off US. Hi! People from US are looking. So I'm currently based off US and planning to move to Sweden. How can I approach the recruiters in Sweden for setting up an interview? I tried reaching out through LinkedIn though.
Okay, this is very contextual. What field you're from, how you're approaching the recruiters, etc., etc. But I think people from US are absolutely appreciated, I think, in the Swedish market.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've seen that a lot of US people from especially qualifications who from US are really respected and appreciated. So it's very contextual what sort of messages you're sending, who are you contacting, what is your field, etc.
Yeah, we came here from US before, like 1.5 year ago we came here from US, I and my husband. So, and this is what we did basically. My husband has found a job remotely before we came here. He did it through his network. He approached to his friend who at that moment had a job in a company. So there was a reference. Again, networking. Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, you may start with reaching out to us, sending your CV, and we will take a look at it and see what we can do about it, basically. And maybe come up with a strategy and boost your confidence with respect to job hunting in Sweden. But welcome, we'll be happy to see you here.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so what is the question? Any questions, guys? We will wrap up soon. We don't have any more questions posted in chat right now. So I think that we can finish, we can wrap up. But look at it, we still have 34 people watching us from the very beginning, more than 2 hours, and we really, really appreciate your support and your presence. It was not easy, I would say, comparing to real life sessions, right? It was harder than usually.
Yeah, I have expanded my comfort zone today, for sure.
Absolutely, it was a new experience. But guys, thank you so much, and again, we are looking forward to connecting with you on LinkedIn. Please reach out to us, find us on social media, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, anywhere. And hopefully this corona crisis will finish soon and we will switch to real life meeting. So right now, enjoy your Friday evening. Do you want to say something before we finish?
All the best, stay safe, stay happy, and just work on your interviews.
Wash your hands.
See you.
We're done, right?
Yes.
Bye bye, guys.
Bye.